Podcast.
Haunting Halloween and horror.
You right.
Interviews with haunting gurus. Hanging from a noose in the dungeon with Baker is the technical producer of Haunt Hour, co-creator of the Home Haunt Award show, owner of Hollow Creations, owner and travel guide of the Terror Tours, and the mad lad behind Scare Hollow Haunt. It's Troy Crivellone.
Troy, you are a very lazy man. Only 6 jobs, man. You're a very lazy man.
Yep. I have tons of free time.
Obviously. I was going to say, dude, I thought just doing the podcast and doing my home haunt and having a real job, and obviously not even talking about your real job that pays the bills. What is your, what's your daytime gig?
I actually deliver groceries for Walmart.
No kidding.
So you order them, I pick them and bring them to your house, and that allows me a lot of the free time that I have, to be able to just say, like tonight, I was delivering groceries before I came home to talk to you, and I said, yep, I can be on at any time because I'm self-employed, so I can just leave in a moment, and I can go pick up cool things on the roadside as well for Halloween, so that is always very helpful.
Grab some Kirby's while you're working.
And it's because I'm always in the neighborhoods, and people love leaving that stuff out, so.
They're very good to you.
Yes, very.
So, where to start? How about we start with the Home Haunter Award show? How about we start there?
Okay.
How long have you been doing the show?
Oh, I think we're on year 6. This that we're just going to start doing is year 6. So I think it was 20. It would have been
2019.
So yeah, so this would be our 5th year. This would be our 5th year because we did it in 2020 because me and Christopher could not get together to actually film it. So we used cool camera tricks to make it terribly appear that we were near each other, which we were not.
Now, Christopher is your little partner in crime there for the most part.
Yes. Yep. We seem to work really well together on many things. He helped us create the old folks costume group that we have, where we all have old folks masked and we run around, and we seem to just constantly bounce ideas off each other. I wouldn't say that no idea is a bad idea, because we come up with a lot of bad ideas, and we definitely hold each other, to a standard. But we decided years ago, when the Dead with Dave Awards was ending, after talking with Dave, that, hey, would you mind us kind of continuing the legacy, but without you, because he said he didn't want anything to do with it. And so we wanted to get his blessing that we were going to kind of continue an award show in the United States, obviously change it and not, it would never be the Dead with Dave, but we wanted to just kind of get his, his blessing to, marry his show. So he said, absolutely, take it away. I don't want it anymore. And he ran away screaming.
I know. I had reached out to him as he was kind of like getting out of all of his haunt nonsense. I don't know what he's doing nowadays, but I really like Dave. He was awesome. And I reached out to him and said, hey, man, do you have any interest in doing a segment on Hauntcast? He's like, dude, I'm just kind of done. I'm like, okay, all right. People hit that road. As I was talking to someone not too long ago, and they said, yeah, the lifespan of a lot of haunters can sometimes be only like 6 years before, they get into it, go full bore, and next thing you know, they burn themselves out, and then they're done. They're on to fishing or something. But
yeah, I would say I'm closing in on year 19 for me doing home haunting. Because my wife started me in it. She said, go down in the basement about a month after we got married. And she said, go down in the basement and make some things. And so I said, okay, bye. And so I found Haunt Forum and all that and Monster List and said, okay, I can do this, and learned all these things, and, checked out the Village Mire a few times and, said, oh, well, I can never do that, so I'll just try to do some stuff that's a little less,
If I looked at my stuff back in 2007, I would have been like, I can't do that either. So it's it's all, it's amazing. I remember looking at I forget some of the people. Well, I mean, you still get Pumpkin. Pumpkin Rock was still big back then. He was, he's always been big. So I remember looking at his stuff going, oh my God, holy shit. And then, I remember looking at the Davises and all that. I actually was wondering, I thought that maybe your show, the award show spun out of, because the Davises did a Home Haunter Awards DVD for a number of years. I actually forgot about Dave's, award show that he had done for a number of years too. So,
because we had them, we had the Canadian Haunters Awards, we had Dead with Dave, and I think that was it.
Oh yeah, the Canadian. I forgot about the Canadian Haunters one as well.
Right. And when we decided to start our own show, we knew that they came out with theirs in usually July or August time. And so we talked to Chris Ainsworth and we said, well, here's what we want to do. We want to come out after your show. So you do your awards first because now you're the veteran, and we want to give you guys the the jump on it and stuff like that, and then we'll come in after you. We've done that every year up till this year because Hugh and Therese took even longer. And I asked him, I said, so about that, do you mind if we ours is done and people are asking, and they're like, no, please put yours out. It'll take the heat off of us. so we did, but we kind of took all three shows. And we took some of Dave's judging criteria. We took some of the ideas from the Davises, DVD collection because they had a bunch of other people do the videos for them and do the nominations. Yeah. And I was actually one of them. Troy Franz was one of them. Alan's done them, things like that. And so we're like, well, we should do something like that. And then we kind of came up with the idea to make a story instead of it just being, here's some nominees, here's some winners, here's the next one, it's 45 minutes and you're done. We decided, because me and Christopher can never do anything like lazy, like you said earlier, that we just get going with things. We get such a great creative push from each other, and we're like, well, what about this? And what about if we do this? And so we came up with an idea of, after the first year didn't have a storyline, but the next year we came up with that there's somebody in the industry who's trying to stop us because they don't want us to do this award show, and they're sick of the award show, and they don't, and so people might think it's Dave, people might think it's Chris Ainsworth, people might think it's, just random other people. So we've had a villain who's getting bolder and bolder, and this year he hacked our show and did the anonymous guy. So we try to make it an interesting show to watch, not just here's nominees and winners, and it gives people who didn't win or maybe didn't even put in for a video, it gives them another reason to watch, that it's something fun. And we've got new judges every year. We never have the same judges except for Sandy Schneider. She's our resident judge because she helps us put on the show as well, and so she's always a judge, but then we have an odd number of new judges every year, and same with presenters. We try to nab people who have already won awards to try to stop them from entering the next year. We do have a rule that you cannot enter the one you won last year. And we're going to come up with a Lifetime Achievement Award as well pretty soon. Mm-hmm. We're deciding probably not to do so much of a veteran award because, like, right now we'd only have like 4 or 5 people that would be in that, and that would only be if they entered. So there could be a chance where it's just one person who enters the veteran category. Yeah. Okay, well, they win. That's not really fun, So we're still evolving and learning, but we kind of took things we didn't like from other shows and loved from other shows, and we meshed them all together and then came up with our own idea from that. And so we thank all the predecessors and current with the Canadians, for blazing the trail for us. And we just hope we put on an entertaining show for people. And that's honestly why it takes so long, is because, like, we fly places to do this show. We bring in production stuff. I mean, we had puppets made of us one year.
I was going to ask, am I speaking to you or your puppet? I wasn't sure what I was speaking to.
Troy is actually still out delivering. This is absolutely the puppet. So that was actually a really cool thing that we were able to get some.
So how many people are involved with the show each year?
Generally, we try to have 9 or 10 presenters, and then we've got last year we had 7 judges. Usually we have 5, and then it's myself and Christopher. And then every once in a while, if somebody's around when we're doing filming, then we will add them into it. So we've had other years where we've had people who have been on the stage with us. We did it one year at the Texas Haunters Convention. So we ran around to different vendors and had them do stuff, but we also had people play parts in the storyline of the villain and us, kind of like our film crew and stuff like that. So it's kind of a revolving door of our amazing friends.
Yeah.
So
how do you pick the judges?
We literally just put out a Facebook post and say who wants to be a judge. We kind of let them know what it will entail, and it's hours of work. Last year I think we had 192 entries, and the year before that we had 218. And generally the videos range from 45 seconds to 8 or 9 minutes. We don't really have like a time limit of how long your video can be. We suggest it less than 10 minutes because humans can't process that long, even though that's why we're watching them. I think haunters have a longer attention span than regular people. So they generally watch 3, 4, 5 minutes of it. You can get the gist of it at that point. Unless somebody says, hey, at the 7-minute mark, this is where the prop is. We have lots of people who will send in one video for like 6 different categories, and then they tell us the timestamps of when those items are. And so then our judges will look at the notes and say, oh, okay, I have to watch this one at 7 minutes, and then same with the presenters. We generally put, for several years we went out and found specific ones that we really wanted to be in there when we wanted to highlight them along with past winners and things like that. But last year we literally put out a Facebook post and said, who wants to present the awards? And a bunch of people said, yeah, we'd love to do it. And so it's even though they didn't win or didn't even enter, it gives everybody a chance in the industry to be a part of it. And we don't really, as long as you make a video, we're not sitting there going, we don't have like, we will sort of have a script. Like, we definitely have a script of what to say for the nominees are and blah, blah, blah. But the rest of it's kind of up to them to be creative, what they're doing in the background, what their character is, what they want to say about the award or about themselves. We let them promote themselves at the end and things like that. So, we want them to have the spotlight as well as the nominees and winners of that category too. So it just brings the community even closer together using that. So, we'll be on the lookout for more of all of those people this year. So.
Cool. What are the 8 or 9 categories? What are the different categories that people can enter?
We've got the obvious best walkthrough and best display, and that is pretty cut and dried. If you have to walk through it, whether it be a yard or a garage or a backyard or a shed or whatever, and then best display would be one that you're looking at. Sure, you have to walk through their driveway to get to the candy, but it's graveyards and just drive by and walk by displays. And they cannot be for profit either. So charity's fine. If you take money for charity, things like that, that's fine. And then we have best static, motor, and pneumatic prop, all separate categories. We have best costume, and we have best projection or digital displays. And then we have best modified prop, which would be something you buy at the store. So you 12-foot skeletons and you modified them to look like a giant Viking or the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, things like that. So it's something you're taking from a store and modifying. And then we have Haunt Cycle, which is something you take off the side of the road, something that was free, generally super, super cheap, and you made it into a prop. So you grabbed, and includes like styrofoam blocks, you grabbed a bin and styrofoam blocks and MacGyvered a prop out of it, basically. And then we have Best Overall, which is a culmination of all of those. So when we score, there's a point value to each category and to each person. And so the person with the most points is best overall. So most people would think, oh, that's walkthrough or display, because there's more of them, and they're pretty. Most people who enter them are pretty high up on that score. But last year it was the best motorized prop, David Gentry, for his animated skeleton that he even used in our show the year before that. And so a prop can win best overall, and it has. So
now, how do people go ahead and how do they submit videos to the award show?
So we're every year we update the website and everything like that. It's HHA Awards. I'm actually going to double check that while we're talking here, because
don't want to give any misinformation out there.
Yes, it's HHAawards.RIP, which is really cool. I love having that RIP address. And there's a submission button, and it's in the works right now to be put up.
What is the cutoff date for 2024 awards?
I believe it's going to be the end of February or the beginning of February. We haven't discussed.
So they
that,
got about So they got about 3 months, 2 to 3 months to get all their stuff in.
Yep.
Roughly.
Yep. And one of the coolest things about this awards, and it's something that I really drive home, is that we've had so many new people win every year that was one of the biggest complaints about the other award shows, was that similar people would win every year. Whether it was in the veteran or the regular categories, you would look back at the previous winners and there were so many similar names, and you're like, well, I don't think I can win that, because those people continue to win, so it discourages you from entering. When last year we had, out of the 9 categories, I think 6 of them were brand new and never won an award before. And almost every year it's the majority of the winners are brand new. And that tells me that there's lots of people who are willing to enter because they see they have a chance, because other people who never won before are winning. So I hope that continues for a long time. I know after a while we will get to a point where there's multiple people winning over and over again, but that's where the lifetime achievement.
There's always new blood coming in, though, too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Especially with all the Home Depot stuff. I've already seen where the Home Depot people are now trying to make their own things. They're noticing that, well, okay, it's cool to put it out in the yard, but why is it out in the yard? Why is it there? Why is that next to it? And they're starting to ask questions. We're noticing, what about lighting? What do you guys do with that foam stuff? So those people will start to morph into full theme haunters and things like that, like we all kind of started doing, was we would pick a theme and then go with that.
The disease will take hold.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Home Depot.
Yeah, I was in one of the groups, like Halloween displays and graveyards or something like that. I remember somebody posted a question about where to buy, it was like animated props or something like that. And I remember I posted, I go through professional prop builders. I try to stay away from and you came in and corrected me. You came in and were like, well, the Home Depot props are really good. And I was like, you know what? Touche. You were right. They actually are pretty damn good. For store-bought stuff, they are putting out the best. And you are right. That was a little haunt snobbery, I think, that was coming out of me there, which I hate to be that guy, because look, we all start somewhere. I mean, my old haunt videos are still up on Hauntcast, my Hauntcast YouTube channel, and you can see how far I've come. I've come since 2007. It was lots of really bad years there. So you all start out somewhere, and hey, but people have better stuff to start out with than when I was starting out in 2007. So,
well, and I always tell people, if you can make a 12-foot skeleton for $300, be my guest. You won't.
Oh yeah, no, there's no way. There's no way you could do that.
No, and then I say also, if that 12-foot skeleton was made here in America by, let's say, Beastcraft or Fright Props or any of the ones that make them here
it would be $2,500.
It would be $800.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, I don't. I don't know what it. Yeah, it would be something. Yeah, it would be friggin' expensive.
We're getting. I like to think of the Home Depot stuff as your accessories and your bring them down props. You're bringing them down the road with your big stuff, and then they see what you've done around them. And that's why whenever anybody says, they show those big mounds of Home Depot props in front of their garage and stuff like that, and I go, what's your theme? And they go, well, I don't really have one. And I'm like, so then why did you buy 8 clowns and a werewolf and a scarecrow and a skeleton and a plague doctor? Like, there's, is your theme Halloween? Then awesome. That's great. That's everything you have is Halloween. That's cool. But if you're trying to convey something to your audience, then what is your theme? And then it starts getting them thinking like, well, maybe I can put some stuff over there, And so, but the Home Depot stuff definitely brings people down the road. And that's why when people who are like us, who have been doing these, you'll have the Village Mire over there and it's dark and it's creepy and it's got cool lighting and it's spooky and stuff. And the guy down the street has all the cars, because he's got all the Home Depot stuff. It's all big, it's flashy, it's huge, big old bright lights. But the thing is, then they come down to you. He brought them to the street, you wow them. So when people say, oh, I hate my guy at the end, he's got all these big giant props, there's no theme. They saw your stuff when they came down the street too. They were at his and now they're coming down. So
yeah.
But they also may turn around too. I hope not. But
Yeah, no, I've got a guy down the street who's doing just that. Like, I've been doing, he just got in a couple of years ago, but he, I think one of the first things he went out, like, he was inspired by what I was doing. And he's like, I want to start doing something in my yard. So next thing you know, he got a 12-foot skelly out there. And then from there, he ended up buying, one of the other skeletons. And he's like, I actually donated a couple of my old tombstones that I circled out of, out of my haunt that I just didn't, I'm like, yeah, these were kind of crap. I remade them or made ones that I don't really need these anymore. So I gave him a few. But he's got a couple of skeletons, the 12-foot skelly. He's got, the big werewolf thing that came out this year or last year, whatever. He got it new this year, and he's just super into it. And yeah, he's like an electrician. He works, makes good money, and he doesn't want to build shit. But he's like, he goes out and buys stuff, and now he's got his own little haunt in his yard. No theme, but he's just loving it and does it, and he enjoys it. The guy across the street does like some inflatables, some Spirit Halloween stuff, but just the fact that now we have three so-called haunts or 3 displays on the block. Now we're bringing in tons of, I was already bringing in a lot of people now because we've got that. And then a bunch of the other neighbors, are giving out candy, which once again, some of these areas, especially in my area, there's a lot of neighborhoods that are there's either nobody trick-or-treats in at all, nobody participates, there's no lights on during Halloween. Yeah. So anyway, before I forget, there was one thing I had to ask since we were on this whole topic of the award show and everything. And this was a conversation that I had, or that I kind of watched play out online years ago. So I just thought it would be fun to ask you. I think the question was the argument was, a person was saying that if you do not do a walkthrough, it's not a home haunt. You can't call it a home haunt unless you do a walkthrough. So if you do a display, you're not a home haunt. Your opinion.
I think that was several people who were involved with Dead with Dave, because I remember that argument.
Yes, it was. Yep. That was from back then.
Yep. Oh, that argument was the most hilarious. I think that was the most hilarious argument in Haunter history to me, because they were saying if you don't, and there was also the part of the argument was that if you don't walk through a building, then it's not a walkthrough as well. So if you walk through a yard, and there were actors in the yard and things like that, that was still a display. And it was like, we have had a few in the award show where we're like, that would be better as a walkthrough. And sometimes they go, nope, I want it as a display. And then they don't win, But it's like, we've seen enough of them where we're like, that would do much better in there. And we do email them and say that. But that argument specifically, my take on it is that, once again, if you're walking through something and there's actors, there's action, there's animatronics that come at you, there's things you have to do to get to the candy or get to the end, then that would be a walkthrough. If you can walk by the display and you go right by it and you walk up a driveway with nothing or a pathway with nothing and you just get candy, and maybe there's some lights or whatever on this pathway to their house, just their normal pathway that's there every year, that would be a display. So my thing is you have to do an action to get something in the end, either get through it or get candy. That's a walkthrough.
You have to earn, if you have to earn the candy.
Yes. People argued about Jennifer Dunaway's Haunting of Storybook Lane up there in Michigan. It is completely open air. It is a trail through her yard. You go through all of it. The way she does the video leads you to believe that it is a display. But and that's why when she's won awards in the previous years, I think I've done a good job of grabbing the parts of the video to show people, no, they have to go to specific stations and they interact with an actor who tells them a riddle, or they have to answer a question about a fairy tale or something, and then they get to the next section. Yeah. And they walk through doorways, and yes, it's all open air. There's no,
I just watched that video, and it's very unique. The one thing I love about it is it's unique. It's not like anything else I've seen out there, and that's why I was like, wow, I really dig this. Would I do it? Probably not. Like, it's not but I love what she's doing with it, and it's just very creative, unique. And it's amazing. No wonder she won. I was like, this is fantastic.
She's actually kind of changed my outlook on it, because I had similar thoughts from other people as well. They would say, well, that's not Halloween. That's not a haunt, because it's all storybook characters. It's all whimsical stuff. And several people have even some of my best friends, including like Christopher and stuff, they're like, well, what does Batman have to do with Halloween? What does a Bluey? What does a Dalmatian have to, people have been dressing up in so many costumes, and then I'm like, well, yeah, that's the costume. They're hiding themselves, because the whole point of costumes in Halloween, you're hiding yourself from the demons, and then you get the candies, blah, blah, blah. And so, but people are dressing up in things that have nothing to do with Halloween, but yet it's a Halloween costume. So what she's doing is she's transporting you to a place that's not real and not here, that is in your everyday life. So why is that different than me telling people they're coming through my Frankenstein's lab or my graveyard or my witch cabin?
Well, we constantly tell people when you're creating a backstory, is you're creating a world that people enter, and they kind of lose themselves because they're involved, they're like engaged, or they lose themselves within this world. That's kind of what we're doing. It's like what we're all doing. Mm-hmm. Just because
clowns are not Halloween. Clowns are not haunt. We've made them haunt. We've made them fodder because people are afraid of clowns. But that's not like, when you think of Halloween, you think of spooky stuff. You think of dark and mummies and skeletons and monsters and things like that. And then there's clowns. And you're like, well, there's all this bright lights and happy characters, and they're being weird, and some of them are really bad and demented. And it's like, so if clowns are okay, then why aren't fairy tale characters? And she has plenty. I say the same thing about pirates. I don't think pirates are Halloween at all. But when you use a skeleton as a pirate, okay, now you've made it Halloween. I still don't think non-skeleton pirates are much Halloween-y. I think that's the furthest stretch of Halloween that we have. But she integrates all different types of Halloween and whimsical and adventure and fantasy. She has dragons all over her thing. To some people, dragons are very scary, but it's like you said, you're transporting them into a different world, a different space. And that's our whole job as haunters, is to suspend your belief and to put you in a space where you're not in control and where you're experiencing something. That's why I hate when people put 1,000 straps all over their 12-foot skeletons. Because I'm like, he looks like he's a hot air balloon, or he's a giant, guy, and these little people have strapped him down. And I'm
he's
like,
at the Macy's Day Parade coming down the Fifth Avenue or whatever it is.
Yeah, you've ruined the magic of that. There's this giant skeleton in the yard that you can't see the base, and he's just in there in the yard. Granted, the other thing is that 8 million people have them now, so there's no magic to it at all. Anyways. But when they first came out, people were putting so many straps because they were afraid of losing their $300 investment. And I get that, but you were also ruining the effect. To me, anyways. That's why I don't keep him out. He's out for Christmas, but that's as soon as Christmas is over, he's gone. And other people leave him up all year, and I'm like, it's now not a Halloween prop for sure anymore. But so that's like the new argument. Is it a Halloween prop if you leave it up all year?
No, things have to kind of disappear and then reappear. They only come back at a certain time of year.
Yep.
Mid-September or whatever your thing is. They come back when the fall arrives. When the fall comes back, then all of a sudden these creatures, this crazy shit starts to appear. And that's also the fun of it, is that people will start, even in August, I start having people ask me, hey, when do you start setting up? You setting up soon?
Yep.
It's coming. It's coming.
There's he's gonna kill me for not remembering his name. But 13 skeletons. He's over in Jersey or East Maryland, and he starts off with a little skeleton in the yard, and it's like just the hand. It's coming out of the dirt, and then the next day it's a little higher, and then the next day there's another skeleton helping him out of the hole, and then there's skeletons coming up over here. Each day,
that's great.
He adds and builds because school buses drive down his street every day.
Yep.
So those kids every day get to see the building of his thing, and he makes big Rube Goldberg machines one year and things like that. He's a fantastic guy, super creative, and so that literally he is making it appear every year, and then they go back down for like the first couple of days in November. It all goes back into the earth.
That's awesome. I love that.
It's so cool.
Now I've had so many people tell me that I love what I come by. I start drive once I know that you're starting to put stuff out. I start coming by every day because they start seeing stuff coming out. Because I used to do the slow roll. I used to do something similar to that, but not as elaborate as that. But I would do a couple of things would start popping up. This creature, that creature, this thing happened, and then all of a sudden the tombstones with the cemetery would come out, and then a couple, then after that, and all of a sudden everything starts to be lit, and the lighting comes out. And I've always had people tell me that they're like, I love coming by. And that this year, though, I said, I know people love that, but I just wanted to start getting everything out. Like I wanted to do a push to get everything out fast. Because I also wanted to travel, within like the week or two after that. I wanted to go away for the weekend and go travel down to Connecticut, hit a couple of pro haunts. So I'm like, I really want to get everything up and ready to go before I do that. So... but people tell me all the time they love that slow roll. Yeah. Maybe I'll bring it back again next year because they do come by. And even when I'm trying to rush everything out, it still takes, a week or so to get everything out. This constant tweaking forever. The tweaking doesn't stop until the 30th, and then maybe not even. All right, so let's dive into terror tours. Tell me a little bit about that.
Me and Jim Erickson decided back in 2016 to we got sick of people not going to haunted houses as like haunters, home haunters and stuff like that, because we were, just like you said, you're super busy all of September and into the first part of October, and then it's like, and then you're tired and you're like, I don't want to go, or you go on some by yourself. So in the Northwest, we had a fair good amount of haunts in Portland and in Seattle, and I would go to a couple, he would go to a couple, some of our friends would end up going, and we just kept seeing people go separately, and we're like, well, I want to go with all of you. I want to see haunts with my friends. And so we're like, well, let's just get a bus. Let's just see if this works. We'll get a bus, we'll call the haunts, we'll say, hey, we're going to bring you a busload of people. Let's work out a deal. Let's work out, VIP for GA prices or whatever. And let's just get on a bus and take everybody that first weekend in October when people still aren't thinking haunted houses yet. We'll let the general public come if they want to. We'll advertise it out a little bit here and there. The first year we just did it in the Northwest Haunters Association website and Facebook page, and we just said, hey, haunters, let's just get together. Friday and Saturday night in the beginning of October. You can take a break and go back to your haunts after this, but let's go see these haunts that you've always wanted to see, but you say you never have time, or you go without us. Let's all go together. And so the first couple of years, it worked out really well. We went to Portland one night, like on Friday, and then we went to Seattle the next night. And then we started staying up just in Seattle for the weekend, and then Portland for the next year weekend. And then I made a trip down to Texas to go to the Texas Haunters Convention, And of course we got to see Dark Hour, and I was like, I need to put Dark Hour on a haunt tour. And I'm like, there's a lot of haunts in Dallas, Texas, so let's try to put together a dual tour where we do one weekend in Dallas, one weekend in Seattle, and that worked out really well. And to backtrack a little bit, we basically, we have a good relationship with all these haunt owners. We ask them, obviously, permission to use their logos. Some of them will say, hey, what do you want us to charge you? And I said, it's your business. I want you to tell me what you believe our thing is worth. And I say, we're going to have 30 to 50 people. I'm not going to promise you 4 buses. I'm not going to promise you 2 buses. If we have 2 buses, awesome. If I have 1, awesome. And so I don't overpromise, and I say, I don't want to degrade your worth, and I don't want to tell you what to charge me. I want you to come to me with a number, and we can work it out and go from there. And so all of them have been great with it. Some of them, there's been a few haunts that have given it to us for free. And so then we lower our price, our overall price. We say, well, I was planning on being charged $40 for that, so now I can drop the price of the tour and make it more economical. We don't make any money on this at all. I've actually had to pay several years for even me to go or for me to fly somewhere for it. Because it's not the point. The point is not profit. I have a day job. I love getting together with my friends and going to haunted houses. And so to make it a little easier, we got sponsors. We have Froggy's Fog is our title sponsor, so they give us the cash and some lanyards and cups and things like that. And it allows us to do some marketing. It allows us to rent the bus, get the deposit on the bus and things like that. And then we have other sponsorships where they help us with the cash part of it. And then a lot of vendors will give us prizes. And so we have swag bags, and we put a bunch of prizes in there and swag, and then we have golden tickets where, a vendor will say, well, I've got these 2 items and I want to give them to you. Well, then we put a golden ticket in random bags. And then on one of the longer nights of the tour, we will go up and down the rows and we'll say, what, hold up your golden tickets and let's see what you got. So everybody gets to be excited and see what everybody gets. And then in the hopes that the FOMO steps in and that, I didn't win that prize, but I want it. We of course tell them where the items came from. We do lots of promotion for those vendors and stuff like that. And so we basically do it as close to cost as we can. Sure, I would love to have the hotel paid for or, the airfare. We do get into the haunts, me and who's ever working with me on that specific tour, we get into the haunts for free. But other than that, we pay for a lot of our own stuff as well. And, it's not in our thing to be profitable. As long as we break even and I don't have to pay thousands for it, then we're good. So we
so the word's out. You're a hell of a guy.
I try. That's whenever anybody says, Troy, you're so awesome, you're so helpful, and blah blah blah. And I say, I try. I try to be. I do fail sometimes. And I do have a tendency to be angry sometimes at things. But it really is just for me to get together with things. And honestly, selfishly, I get to see amazing haunts with these people. And I get to experience ones like last year, just in October here, we went to Pennhurst and we went to Waldorf Estate of Fear, which is where Hell House was filmed. We got to go to Devil's Last Laugh, which was one of the coolest home haunts. That's a pro haunt, and it just out there. I mean, Devil's it blew me away. And we got to go to Bates Motel. I've gotten to go to a bunch in Texas here. I've gotten to go to so many amazing haunts in this country. And we're just starting. We're just gearing up.
Okay,
I've got so many plans for
So basically, you are now going to be going to different states and different cities each year.
Yeah. The plan right now is we've done Dallas and we've done Texas for now, so we're going to leave that alone, and we're going to have 1 tour every year. We tried to have 2 this last year, and it just splits people up, and they don't want to choose between the 2, and economics plays a part in that. So most of them picked Philadelphia, so we said, all right, we're going to let San Antonio go, and we're just going to do 1 tour. So this next year in 2025, we will be in Pittsburgh. And we've already got haunts signed up. We've already got hotels are going to be released on Monday. And pricing will be out in the beginning of the year probably. Then we're going to go to the New York area, and including Connecticut and New Jersey and New York.
Cool.
And I'm really excited about that. So
yeah, Trails of Terror in Connecticut is great, really great.
I'm trying to remember if I was there because I
had a
went
blast there.
to New England in 2021 and saw like Overload and Legends of Fear and stuff like that. And I think it sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's I have I only went to 2 down there, and that one I'm not gonna throw the other one under the bus, but I wouldn't recommend the other. Off air, I can mention it, but Trails of Terror was awesome. I really highly recommend it. It was a great time. Blast. Okay, Haunt Hour. Let's jump into Haunt Hour. Tell me a little bit about that extravaganza.
Dan Doble and myself have been toying with the idea of having a web show for mainly about home haunters for years prior to 4 years ago when we started. We just wanted to chat with them. We always tell people that it's like we met you in a bar and we want to know everything about you. And it's extremely casual. There's no script. It's literally just us hanging out, having a conversation. Because some people have been like, oh, I don't really do like interview shows. Like it's like I'm apprehensive. I have anxiety and stuff. And I was like, it's literally just talking to people you just met.
I've had to go through that conversation with people for years. Yeah, it's like, dude, just a couple of haunters chatting, talking shop. Talking shop. That's all we're doing.
And after every time they're like, man, that was awesome. That was so easy. You guys were so nice. It was super fun. Oh man, I can do this now. And I'm like, yeah,
I'm starting my own show.
right. So the first year we just kind of came out and we're just like, hey, we needed a co-host as well as, because I told Dan, I said, I don't want to host the show. I have my own stuff to do. I don't want to host the show. I just want to do like the talent. I want to find the talent and I want to find, do the intros and do the technical stuff. I just want to be the guy who runs comments and make sure the screen looks good, because I like that kind of stuff. And so, that turned into exactly that. I make all the intros for it. I have a blast doing that. I've learned a lot about video editing because of that. And then I'm able to connect with a lot of my friends, and a lot of people that I see. We use the Home Haunter Awards as a guest hub. I'm like, hey, I know, I've watched all these videos. I want that person. I want that person. I want that person. I've got to talk to that person about that. So we absolutely pull from the videos we get from there to have, for our guest lists. But we also try to go after people you've never heard of. We've had like Brick Thunder on there. We had he's gonna kill me for not remembering his name too. But Dan has a friend in his town outside of Milwaukee that I think the kid's like 12 or 13, and he's been doing home haunting for years, and he's super into it, super technical and stuff like that. So we're trying to get not the people that you've heard of. Not the people who have been on Haunters Hangout, not the people who have been on every other interview show. Sure, we had Alan on one year, but we try to get new people who you've never heard of or people you've always wanted to hear from that maybe haven't talked in a long time. We got Derek from Van Oaks. I tried with him for like 3 years straight, and I was like, Derek, you cannot say no this time. You have to be on the show. He's like, okay, I will. And we had a blast. So it's really just the three of us because we put a Facebook post up and we said we need a co-host for this show, and it was up for 5 minutes. And Susie Flessick from Crawford School of Terror immediately said, "I'll do it." And she said, "I was driving, like my husband was driving, and I was just sitting on Facebook and I saw your thing and I said I'm in, and I didn't even know what I was saying I was into." She just goes, "I'm in." And we're like, okay. So we took the post down and she's like, what did I volunteer for? We're like, you're going to be a co-host on our show. Oh, okay, fine. I'll do that. So she's, basically Dan, was a home haunter. He went to pro haunting for a while, and then family took precedence, so he was out of it for a while. But he's always been involved with haunting and with conventions and filming stuff. And then I'm the resident home haunter, and technical guy, and then Susie's the pro haunter. So we've had, lots of different experiences between the three of us that we're able to pull and ask questions and kind of get different takes on things. And so we try to mix up the guests of who's going to be on the show and, what types. Like, I don't want to put two, graveyard people back to back, so I kind of move people around but it's called the Haunt Hour, but it generally goes about an hour and 45 minutes. So Sean Mills.
So false advertising basically is what. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Sean always tells us it's the Haunt Hour-ish. So we're like, yep, that's our show.
Our conversation with Troy is not finished, as we'll be shambling into his home haunt, Scare Hollow, on part 2 of our interview with Troy Crivellone in our next episode of Hauntcast. Please follow the podcast, give us a 5-star review, stalk us on social media, links in the description, and visit our blog page for more show info at huntcastpodcast.net/blog. Until next time, stay scary.
I got to warn you. You're doomed to stay. Go. Go.